Welcome to another edition of the OC Show. I am your host, Donnie Henderson, and I'm so happy that you guys are here to join me one more time for one more show. Got a couple of topics for you, real quick. Let's get started. But I just want to make sure that everyone do me a favor. One person, suggest to one more person to like and subscribe to my channel just to help me to grow it, to help me to get this show to where I want it to go. I want to do something with this show, and it's up to me to make sure that I keep giving you great content. So I'm going to start with some great content today. Where should I start? I've got two different things to start with, but I think I'm going to go ahead and start with the NFL draft. NFL draft just finished moments ago. The last pick just got picked, and the biggest news out of the NFL draft was Shedeur Sanders. If you don't know who Shedeur Sanders is the son of NFL Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, who is now the coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. Shedeur Sanders' career spans over um, several years. He starred in high school, graduated high school, went to Jackson State where his father coached. One thing that is very unique about Shedeur Sanders' story is that his father, Deion Sanders, has been his head coach every step of the way. Some people like that, some people don't. I think it's pretty cool because a father is involved in his son's life all the way through. Not just Shedeur's, he's got another son, Shiloh, who I don't think he got drafted, but could possibly get picked up by one of these other teams. But the Sanders football family tree is pretty strong, starting with the strongest root of the whole thing with Deion Sanders, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest football players of all time. But Shedeur, quarterback, uh, started out at Jackson State, played 2 years there at Jackson State, had a really good career there. I think they went to the Celebration Bowl twice, lost both of those games, but did a great job there at Jackson State. Then they moved with Deion Sanders to Colorado, where they took a 1-11 team, got 5 wins the first year, then went to a bowl game this year, was in contention for the Big 12 title and contention for a college playoff appearance. So Shedeur Sanders, I believe he was also seventh in the Heisman voting. Good quarterback. I'm not an NFL expert. If you wanted me to critique a basketball player, I could do that a little bit more than I could with football, but my eyes work. Shedeur Sanders is a decent quarterback. He's not the best. He's not the worst. Is he an NFL player? Maybe, probably, if he works hard. Let's get to the meat of the story, though. Shedeur Sanders was projected by a lot of people as the second or third best quarterback in the draft. And if you're the second or third best quarterback in the draft, you're probably going to be in the first, probably the second round. Now, there's a lot of things that go into getting drafted. And I'm not going to bore you with all those details, but long story short, first round projected, possibly second round, Shedeur Sanders fell from the first day. The first day of the draft, the draft is 3 days. The first day is the first round. The second day is the second and third round. And people, for sure, will think that he'll get drafted on the second day. He didn't get drafted on the second day. And now people are tripping. They're just like, why is he not drafted? What happened? How come he fell so far? A lot of different factors go into it. How do you do in your pro day? Now, these college athletes have the opportunity to go to a pro day and work out for NFL teams. Not the pro day, excuse me, the NFL combine. You can choose to go to that. You get invited to go to that. And he declined that invitation. He didn't throw at the combine. So NFL people didn't see that. They just had his tape from college. He also had the opportunity to have a pro day. And I think he did have a pro day at Colorado and threw a little bit. I could be mistaken. He might not have thrown, but didn't wow people at his pro day. And so another part of the process is actually being interviewed. We're talking about professional football. He's going to be a professional. Now, each of us have a job. I am a professional at my job. Each person is a professional, whether you're working at a restaurant, whether you're working at a factory, whether you're working in an office, you are a professional. A lot of times we forget that these athletes are professionals. This is their job. these rookies have to interview for that job. Reports came out that in an interview, because these teams talk to these guys before they're going to give these guys millions upon millions of dollars, they want to talk to them, make sure their head's right. They're not going to just give this money out to knuckleheads. Some of them end up being knuckleheads because they're able to get through the interview process, but they're not going to just give this money out to knuckleheads. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Asian, whatever. They're not going to give them money to this money to knuckleheads. I'm not calling Shedeur Sanders a knucklehead, but his interview with the New York Giants and Coach Brian Daboll is something that did make news, and got reported that his interview was not good. It was not strong. Now, it turned out that he fell to the fifth round, and the Cleveland Browns ended up picking him in the fifth round. And good luck to him. Now, people are going to say, "Oh, you're hating on Shedeur Sanders. You're hating on the Sanders family. You're one of those haters." I am not a hater. I'm a huge Deion Sanders fan. Deion Sanders is the second best Sanders to ever play football. Yep, I said it. Deion Sanders is the second best Sanders to ever play football, because the first greatest Sanders to ever play football is Barry Sanders. But we're not going to get into that today. That's not what we're talking about. But I am a big fan of Deion Sanders. Being 47, almost 48 years old, sports fans in my age group remember the greatness of Deion Sanders and his flamboyance. Back to Deion Sanders' draft, before he got drafted, there's a story that went out about Deion Sanders. A lot of people know this. If you don't know it, it's a pretty interesting story. He was doing his interviews, and I can't. Let's just say, for the sake of conversation, it was my Lions that was going to interview, and let's say the Lions had the 10th pick. He interviewed with the Lions or whoever team it was. He said during the interview they were asking questions, and Deion asked, "Well, what pick do you guys have?" And I believe the pick they had was 10th. And he said, "Well, we're going to finish this interview because I'm not going to be there then." That's how confident / cocky Deion Sanders was. But he had it to back up. There was a no brainer, and I believe he was fourth or fifth picked in that year draft. He was a no brainer first round, and people don't like that type of attitude. People don't like it when athletes or anyone is that cocky or confident. But he backed it up. Shedeur Sanders had a poor interview with Brian Daboll. We don't know exactly what was said, but it was a poor interview. Not impressed. Obviously, the Giants stayed away from him. The word got out that he had a poor interview because he's interviewing for a job. Shout out to my wife, who was talking to my daughter the other day. My daughter's 16 and thinking about possibly getting a summer job. So once my daughter talked to my wife about, I possibly want to get a job, my wife sat her down and said, "These are the types of questions you'll get, and this is how you answer these questions." Deion Sanders, for all that's been reported and all the things that we see, is a pretty decent father. And I'm pretty sure that Deion had at some point has sat Shedeur down and said, "This is how you answer these questions. I had these exact questions. This is what I'm going to have to do." But to kind of, as I'm saying all that, maybe he didn't. Maybe Deion was like, "You know what? You handle it your own way, because I handle it my own way." And Deion Sanders could get away with that, but Shedeur couldn't. And it's obvious because he went all the way to the third day of the draft, got selected by the Cleveland Browns in the fifth round. Now, I'm not hating on the man. I want Shedeur Sanders to do well. I'm going to go one step further. I want Shedeur Sanders to start, get to the Super Bowl, play against the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. I want it to be a Cleveland-Detroit Super Bowl, and I want Detroit to win the Super Bowl. That's what I want as a fan. I want him to succeed. Now, this should be a wake-up call for him to be able to go out and, you know what, prove everyone wrong. Prove that he is a pro, because there's doubts. Is he an NFL quarterback? Is he going to be a starter in this league? Now you got the chance to show it with the Cleveland Browns. But the lesson learned here is that we need to make sure that our pride doesn't get the best of us. Proverbs 16:18, pride comes before the fall. I don't want this man to fall. But it looks like it helped his pride, his arrogance, made him fall in the draft. Again, talking about pride and arrogance and things of that nature. Um, My second topic of the day, my second and final topic, has to do with someone that I I don't want to use the word look up to, and I can kind of start it like this. A lot of people call him Unc. Shannon Sharpe, Unc. That's one of his nicknames. Club Shay Shay. Um, I'm a fan of Shannon Sharpe. Big time fan of Shannon Sharpe. I think he's hilarious. I think he's well informed. His show with Chad Ochocinco, Nightcap, I'm a huge fan of. I've been listening to it since they've been doing it for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. Big fan of Shannon Sharpe. Big fan of what he did on Undisputed. Big fan of what he was doing on ESPN. I'm a fan. I like his style. Shannon Sharpe, my dude. If he's on TV, I'm gonna watch because I like how he presents the material. Do I always agree with him? No. And for all of you that think that you should always agree with all these people on TV, then you're nuts. You're not going to always agree with these people on TV, and I don't always agree with his takes. He thinks LeBron's the GOAT. I think Jordan's the GOAT, but he's entertaining. He's an entertaining man. Shannon Sharpe does a great job. But let me stop on his nickname, Unc. I take that very seriously. I hate the nickname Unc for him. And these kids now call, men, I don't want to say older men, like men my age, Unc. I heard my daughter the other day talking about, oh, what's up, Unc? I'm like, girl, I'm your father. I'm not your Unc. I'm not your uncle. But they use the term Unc as a term of, I'd like to say a term of endearment for a male who is older than them. And I don't know if it's a respect thing. I think it's meant to be respectful. And you're calling someone Unc. Now, I'm not going to call Shannon Sharpe Unc, and I wasn't going to do this even before all these allegations because I take the term Unc pretty seriously. I am an uncle. I have two nieces. One niece, shout out to my niece Ariana, who's about to graduate high school, who has done a tremendous job in her schooling. Going to celebrate her in a few weeks. I take that very seriously. And I take the fact that I have uncles. My uncle, I have one uncle on my mother's side. I have 10 uncles, and most have passed away now on my dad's side. As I got married, when I got married, I've got other uncles now through marriage, and each one of those men that I do call uncle, I look up to. I look up to each and every one of them in a different way, and I have whether it be a close relationship or not as close relationship with the uncles that have gone on, the ones that are still here. I hold that relationship dearly, and I take it seriously. And I've always hated the nickname Unc for him, and now I've got to really I really want to encourage everyone to step back when you call this man Unc, because not once, but this is the worst of them all, because Shannon Sharpe had made an announcement that, it's come out that he has had temporarily taken time away from his role at ESPN because he's being sued for sexual assault and battery and sexual battery. He denies the allegations. I think, from what I can see and what I've deduced, I think this is all a setup. I don't think that he did any of this stuff, but he was careless. People look up to you, Unc. People look up to you, Shannon Sharpe. And I've got too many other role models in my life to be looking up to people. I've got a great father. I've got uncles that are actually in my family who I look up to more than I look up to Shannon Sharpe. But as I'm doing a show similar to, I want to have a shred of the success that Shannon Sharpe has. So do I look up to him? In a way, I kind of do. And so it does disappoint me that he's conducting himself in this manner. Come on, Unc. Why are we doing this? Why are we messing around with OnlyFans models who are not even going to say half your age? They're the age of the children. You have 3 children. I know a lot about you because I follow you, Unc. I follow you. I've heard all the stories. I know you got 3 children, and I know you got grandchildren, and I know that the children that you have are older than this girl you messing with. Come on, Unc. You got to know people are looking up to you. And for you to do this to all your fans, and people are just blindly following you. Now, We're in a time where people just gonna boycott anything. People just boycott a store. People will boycott at the wind blows. People are gonna boycott something. I thought about boycotting you, Unc, because you gotta know better. There's too many people looking up to you. You talk to people, you talk to these athletes, you talk to these people, you reach millions of people. I've got two nieces. I've got two daughters. So the uncle I am is two nieces. I'm a father. I've got two daughters. And I've got, her friends and their friends that they see how we act as young men and cousins and all these different people. People don't look up to me in a way at the same manner as they look up to you. And you know that. And I'm going to take it a step further. What would your grandmother think? All the stories you talk about, Mary Porter, that's your grandmother. And I said her name because that's how much I've listened to you. I even know your grandmother's name. And I respect your grandmother and your grandfather for what they did raising you and your brothers and sister, your brother and your sister. I admire that story. I love that story. I eat up everything that you say when you have stories about them because they come from the heart. They're so rich. I could tell you love your grandmother, and for the success that you had to bring your grandmother out of the situation that she was in and to take care of the family, the way you take care of your family is commendable. But Unc, what are you doing? Come on, man. Messing around with an OnlyFans model in order for her to start saying all these things and start try to extort this money from you, you got to be better than that. And you are better than that. And you probably will never hear it from me. But there's thousands of other people like me that'll tell it like it is. Because there's other thousands of people that are like, oh, we're going to just stand behind Unc no matter what. He's wrong. Did he commit a crime? I don't think he committed any crimes, but he's got to understand who he is and who's watching him. Disappointed in Unc. That's why I don't call him Unc. I never have. I ain't going to call anybody else Unc because my uncles deserve more respect than that. And as an uncle, hopefully I can be a better example than that. Do better, Shannon Sharpe. You got a fan here. And I don't want to be one of these ones because I'm not going to. If it comes out that you're guilty of this stuff, then I will boycott you. Then I'm done. Then I have to be done. Because you know better. You have too many people looking at you. And as a black man, walking around as a black man, you need to make sure you have the what's the word I'm looking for? You have the responsibility to make sure that you're standing above reproach. I don't care who you mess around with or what it is. And back to the whole age thing. Age ain't nothing but a number. That's fine. But what does a 50-something-year-old man have in common with a 20-something-year-old girl? I mean, come on, Unc. Do better, my man. I hope it all works out, but I need you to do better. You're better than that. Check me out next time, the OC Show. Appreciate you guys listening. Thanks.